like to call to order the Germantown School District Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting. It's 4:15. Roll call. Loth?
Here.
Brown?
Here.
Item number 3, agenda revisions and approval.
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Loth with the motion, Brown with the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, approval of the December 18th, 2023 meeting minutes. I'll take a motion.
I'll take a motion to approve the December 23 meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion by Brown, second by Loth on the December 18th meeting minutes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, reports and update. Item A, work order report. Mr. Lord.
Yes, so this is the Buildings and Grounds work completion report. As referenced to in the December Building Committee meeting, this will be an ongoing report at each building committee. Much of the same layout, just to kind of see where we're at, what kind of turnaround time we have, just kind of keep the up and up on the amount of work orders that we are completing and our efficiencies in general. So this one is from 12/14, which is the day after the meeting, I believe, last, correct?
Yeah.
Ish. I think that's how I did. I think I did up till 12/13 on the last one. And so I did 12/14 to 2/6. So it's missing a few days in between, which I know we did have some more come in, but those will be on the following report. So on this report again is the description, location, days aged, request date and actual completion date. The days aged is the request date and actual completion date difference. In general, I believe we had 185, which I think was pretty solid considering the couple of weeks worth of snow and ice that we did deal with. Usually that does show some sort of a reflect within your work order turnaround, mainly because we do use all maintenance staff for snow removal. So all said and done, I think it's been really well. The turnaround times have actually tightened up. It's not enough for me to create data on yet for this particular one, but now that we are fully staffed, just myself going back, I'm seeing turnaround times shortened, which is exactly what I anticipated and hoped for, nonetheless. That's pretty much what I have for that report. I don't know if there's any questions.
So, well, first of all, I caught you saying we're fully staffed, so we're.
Oh, yes. Oh, I suppose that wasn't right. It seems like
November
longer, my
27th.
goodness. Yeah, so it, yes, it was shortly after our last meeting, we solidified our last, right around Christmas, I believe it was.
Beginning
right
of
before Christmas.
December.
Yeah, he had started, I think, that week after this meeting. So, yes, we are fully staffed, and it has been fantastic. We're happy with the few members that we did bring on board, and so far, so good.
Good. I do have a question or two. As I was looking through the information, I noticed that there were some items out there that were out there for quite some time. It's not as long if you actually read each one of them. Some of them are they have a high age, but it looked like people were just simply being proactive with the request. Of course, I can't find it right now, but I think there was a couple of them where deliver chairs to the school, but it was submitted really early so that there could be planning. So the age is like
Yes.
60 some days, 80 some days, but that, ignoring those.
Yep.
Could you speak to a couple of the ones that, I think there's 3 in a row here, 61 through 63, with regards to, they're all over 300 days. So do we have an idea of why, basically, if there is any sort of reason? I know 62, the note says moved from Steve DeFrank since he retired, so I don't know if that one was like a slip through the cracks type
Yep.
of thing, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so with these 3, and there's a few other, I think, within this one as well, there's really 2 to 3 things that impact that. The proactiveness, the chairs, that's a perfect example. That's a big one. They usually put those in right at the beginning of the year in the summer just to have them on the docket, so to say. I leave those in here. I think I had mentioned it maybe in my annual maintenance report about how those can kind of teeter the information as far as turnaround times. But to remove them, you remove a lot of them, and I can't necessarily, I don't want to hurt the end-all numbers just because of the proactiveness. So that plays a part. The other part is staff that maybe were here, maintenance staff that are no longer, and it sat within theirs, where if they took it on and they put in progress, now I can find it, but it technically leaves the table and it's on theirs until they complete it. So some of those get hung up, and that certainly happened within the transition over the last 2 months. And the final one is some of the projects we have, if I realize that there's a few things that all are happening in one school or one location within the school, or they have a common, that we can do all at once for, usually it's a monetary value, you know, just the all-in-one. I'll either defer them or put them in pending with a note. So then when I close those, it still takes that initial date, not the date that I put it forth into work in progress. So I think that's, I'm not gonna call it a glitch, but it's something that can kind of mess with the end-all data.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't count how many, but there's a significant, like, very significant number that were completed in 10 days or less.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's, I think, a key point. Obviously, if it's a bigger fix, you might have to get someone out here, there's scheduling, those type of things. So I think in general, I was kind of happy to see those low numbers that were in that age column. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this particular?
No.
Mr. Barney?
Yeah, I looked through the report. I appreciate everything that's in here, just to see the scope of everything that you guys have to do. As I read through it, something jumped out at me. Line 5, one of the sink sprayers not working. Line 13, one of these sink sprayers not working. Line 16, one of the sink sprayers not working. Line 26, one of the sink sprayers not working. Multiple sink sprayers, same sink sprayer that keeps breaking?
So I had this conversation, these are different sink sprayers. It's the same team member that completes these. And in this case, this is one where they seek him, he fills out the work order, submits it, and then he'll ask for completion. Usually, he can hit complete on his own after I gave it to him. So when we have a maintenance tech, they submit it and they route it to themselves. So I get it, I approve that route, but usually the assumption is, or the intent is that they have already completed that one.
Sure.
And I did talk to him because I did pick up on that. And there's a few of them within this that I see regularly. You know, like the change bulb thing, or change a light switch, and you know, if you get 15 light switches in one, but it all just says, you know, let's say Amy Bell. Well, that's half of the building. What do we have a bigger issue? Is there? So the biggest, I guess, the picture here is that I've asked that we have a little bit more detail as far as kitchen sinks, bathroom sinks. Is it a sprayer? Is it just the, you know, the aerator, or what?
Yeah, when I'm thinking sprayer, I'm thinking, you know, like your sink sprayer, we'd pull it out and
Yep,
spray dishes
absolutely.
or something.
Yep, and actually a lot of them, between that and the locker rooms, they have those sprayers on some of those showers. So I mean, they've been common, especially with some of the water quality. Not saying it's bad, but the hardness buildup and everything, they need to be taken apart, cleared up, and everything. But yeah, that's a very good pickup, and I'm hoping that's one of those things that we can hone in on just for clarity.
So are these sink sprayers in the bathrooms or sink sprayers like in the kitchen to wash dishes?
It's a mix. There's
Oh, so when they're talking about sprayers, just the faucet?
It's just the faucet
Oh.
sprayer. It's the aerator. It's mislabeled. I
Oh,
guess
okay.
very. It confuses myself when I have the sprayers.
Any other questions? Okay. Item B, Buildings and Grounds Project Recap Report.
Yes. All right. So this is the Buildings and Grounds Department wanted to share the synopsis of the projects over the time period between Buildings Committee meetings, just to give an update on what we've completed and what we're looking at in the near future. So it is much of the well, it is the same database for what I brought last time, but I just kind of sharpened it up a bit for the ongoing use for myself. And I figured this might be a good way to kind of depict it school to school. I did add the budget side of it, which I believe a lot of these were almost, the majority will be the Fund 10, but there will be the 41s trickled in moving forward. That's all just a time setting type of thing. And in this case, they all lined up with the Fund 10. But there will be some of this, I know there's well, the ESSER fund might not be anymore, but I will label it, it might be. So any necessary fund I will lay out just for convenience and foresight. Project recap, we had a really good month and a half, again, having a full crew. Pretty much all of my future planned projects were completed. There were just a couple that were delayed a little bit that I did bring on to the next one, and actually those did land on the snowfall time. Just with having people within the building, gave us the opportunity, but we ended up being outside. So those will roll over kind of as a working document. But all in all, I'm very happy with what we were able to take care of project-wise outside of the standard work order.
Can you go through those briefly?
Yes, the wayfinding signage, that was ongoing project that was, I don't even know when it started, a few years back, but mainly all for the elementary schools. So we were finally able to get those up. That was all using the safety ESSER funding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So we started with the high school, and we're just doing wayfinding signs for safety reasons only. So when you walk into the building, it will point which classrooms you're going to, if you're going to the cafeteria, the gym, those type of signs. Not necessarily signs that are saying like student services or gym or anything like above the doorways, but they're more for safety reasons. We did the high school, we moved on to Kennedy Middle School, and we just recently finished the elementary schools. And you might have noticed last year when we did Kennedy's, we did change their front location, so now it says Kennedy on the outside of the building. That was one of the things that was involved in the wayfinding signs as well.
Thank you. Staff lounge at the exterior window replacement. This was ongoing that I'm pretty sure or several are aware of, but this was when we were waiting for production of the window. I did attach a photo of this window just to parade it a little bit. It was very exciting to have that one said and done and get the duct taped windows out of there. Just a little history. I believe that was pre-me, but it was a student or community younger gentleman that ended up throwing a ball through the window or something of that nature. But it was a complete accident, so he's probably graduated by now. Okay. Replacement of 8 emergency lights and 1 exit light combo at County Line. This is just the for the fire system. Emergency lights, a lot of them are very old, and they all kind of started to fail at the same time. So these were part of a report from the fire department, all except for 2 that actually failed after the report that we were able to replace. So we're all, as of the last check, they're all up and running. So at some point, and I just want to say we'll fade in new ones. They're really not that expensive, but just for their efficiencies and the ongoing use to make sure that they do work. I'll start a little fade-in schedule, just do a few here and there. We did the wayfinding signage there as well. MacArthur, replacement of blower wheel and housing on the water heater. That one was I don't want to say a long time coming, but it was one that we were kind of limping along with. We weren't able to get that taken care of. Boiler pump 1, new gasket seals, that's on the pump, not the boiler. That one had a small leak, but again, we're going towards a completely enclosed boiler loop, so we can treat the water the best that we can for a long life boiler system. Wayfinding signage at Rockfield. The blue entrance / atrium at Kennedy. We replaced the 8 metal halide downlight sconces. It was a very dark area And I did attach a picture with this. I did not have a nighttime picture. I'm gonna leave that one up to the imagination until you step in, but it looks a lot better. It's the way that it should be in my eyes. We had thought about maybe doing a couple ceiling drop lightings, but we'll wait until future planning for that as of right now. So that was a good, those are all high efficiency LED lights, so the turnaround is going to be very quick on those.
Frank, in the meeting in Finance Committee, they talked about the sinkhole. So if you could, that's your next item, if you could
Yeah.
give them a little more background on the sinkhole, you'll probably be able to explain it better than I can during finance.
Yes, so I don't want to say inherited, but when I had started, one of the first things that I had written down after visiting Kennedy was this 2 cones out in the back, and there was a medium-sized sinkhole. It clearly was an issue at some point in time. I very quickly found out that there had been a lot of investigation done on this between the village and the district at one point in time, a couple of years prior to my start. So let's just say 2020 to 2022-ish. And they did not find any large-scale issues. It is close to a manhole, which my initial assumption was a cracked or broken drain pipe of some sort that was taking on material and thus causing that erosion. Everything that I'd found out doing my homework, they brought out the backhoe, ripped everything up, did not find anything, so they refilled it. It disappeared shortly after that in that following spring, which is spring prior to my start. And then I had taken the distance, I'm just trying to do a long short here, but it was a drawn out process. I took the measurements of the sinkhole itself to see if during some of the rains, if we lost any more material or if it got any larger. It did not. So my assumption then, after talking with a few engineers, was that maybe there was a material gap somewhere within the ground where we had some shifting, loss of soil, it's almost like an air pocket within ice that ends up filling in. And I think that's what had happened, because it had not moved in the entire year, that within a year of me watching it, or us watching it in general. So we had decided to fill it and seal it up, because it's just been one of those things that I don't want to get a phone call that somebody's car tire went into it, or a student or anything of that nature. We did put gravel in it where it ended up not being anything deeper than your knee if anybody was to go in it. But in order to find out that we weren't going to lose material, we didn't want to fill it all the way up right away. So we did close that up, and now everybody is making a point to drive over it, which is great. But as of right now, it's held itself. So it's at some point of erosion. There are no other problematic areas around it. It's just a very weird scenario, I guess. It happens. It does happen on roads, plenty and everything. But
What proximity is it to the building?
so if you know it's right towards the northwest side of the building, almost directly out from where the band area is. There's the hillside, if we're facing it correctly, and then there's that entrance path, the athletic area, and the park side. It's just in between that where the buses come through, right by the speed bump.
Okay.
In the back.
In the back, yep.
But
But
no,
in the athletic field side.
no
that-
known cause, like is it runoff from water off the roof?
Not from the roof. It comes from the hillside, and there's that hill which was built for drainage into the parking lot, because that's where the manholes are in the drain. So that's where it's supposed to go. But in this particular area, it's about 4.5 feet from where the manhole is. And my initial, and what everybody, by the sounds of it, initial thought process was, holing it, it's finding its way into there, washing out. We haven't had any drain issues. We scoped it. We didn't find any cracks or holes large enough that would take on, stone and dirt. So just a very weird displacement, essentially. It does happen, at times underneath drain pipes, larger scale drain pipes and waste runs that, the base is weren't necessarily compact enough. So by the time that they naturally do, you create that little material gap, and that's where water can find its way, so.
Got it. Thank you. Brittany, thank you for pointing that out, because I had that question for finance, so good to get a much fuller story here.
Right.
See, the high school, pool tile repairs, these are from most of the bull-nosed, blue tiles that we were missing that were cracked, along the pool. We did get those in, and installed, that was all free of charge, to my understanding, but, we took care of that, and as of right now, they are all still on and look new. Dismantle and recycle 6 condemned bleachers from the athletic complex. These were a lot of the old wood ones that had to go at some point in time. I think they just kind of found themselves as ornaments for a little while. But this is a perfect project with the weather that we've had to disassemble. We brought in all the metal for scrap and toss the wood. So that was a big one, open up some space out there again. Athletic complex fence repairs. We had several repairs done around the JV baseball field, the tennis fence gate issue, baseball dugout on the dream field. There are a few more that will be coming in spring or pre-spring. They're on the docket right now with fence erectors. It's just a matter of when they have time. I kind of left it open to them as long as it is completed for spring. So we did do a few repairs in-house, but several of those were definitely in need of a professional fencing company or contractor. Lost myself here. Install 5 new 20-amp breakers and add 5 circuits to the interior concession stand. We had that Nelco take care of this, local electrical company that we have a good relationship with. We've had some ongoing issues with blowing breakers in the concession area. And this was the thought process here was to help eliminate that, especially during the weekends. They were having some issues, when they have every appliance known to a cook in there. So they were blowing fuses or breakers nonstop. So this should help. I think it is the most correct setup for the cost. Well worth it. It wasn't a very pricey process. It was just a fact of doing it and having it so they can spread out some of their equipment. Repair of block wall damage outside of room A241. This was an issue that a scrubber had went into the wall by GSF, our cleaning contractor. It ended up being semi-structural, so it turned into a little bit of a bigger deal than what it looked. It was essentially just the block column on the right side of the classroom door, but the crack actually followed up another 8 to 10 feet, so they had to do the entire thing in order to make sure that it was structurally sound again. So that was all taken care of by GSF. And the floor replacement in the lower level hall. This was another one, another bittersweet deal caused by GSF, a scrubber flood from the second floor. That was last year in December, right around or just after the Rockfield flood, I believe it was. I did attach a picture of that. This is something that we used a bit of Fund 41 on because I did have it on the capital to replace this floor. It was a asbestos hot floor, I should say, that was covered with the rubber matting. It had holes in it. It was a safety concern through and through. And the stuff that we have in there is now extremely durable and should be long lasting for as far as I can see. So it's good and clean. Helps us kind of clean up that lower level as well a little bit. So it was almost a 2-for-1. So they covered their entire portion of it, and then we had kicked in to take off on our side of the project. So it was beneficial to have everyone on site at that time. Oh yes. The green space project, I just wanted to share the picture of those doors. Those are all installed. They turned out great. They're clean. Everything is just as planned as far as the interior of the green space, everything is checked off as well for fire and safety. As of right now, I think the only thing that we were waiting on, just because there was no rush on it, was the PA speaker, which they do have. Again, we just haven't had them come in, and actually the voltage is ran, we just haven't had them install the speaker yet for the need. But so that turned out great, and that went about as well as it could have, considering its location and everything like that. So. Okay. Project forecast. Have a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot of winter type projects. You'll see a lot of repeat of the trees and shrubbery and pruning on here. We do have a lot of cleanup throughout the facility, so Amy Bell for sure has plenty. The high school, Kennedy, just clearing out some areas and hope, you know, to take away all those snags and gray trees that we no longer need to stare at. But also to kind of create a more of a safety view on some of the pine trees that are close to the buildings, clear out the lower 4 to 5 feet. So for, I shouldn't say obvious reasons, but just so nobody can tuck in there. Do you want me to go through each one, or of these? I mean, I don't mind.
I mean,
I don't think so.
I don't
Just
think
for
so.
sheer
I mean,
time.
it's good to know that what's coming up, but obviously our next meeting,
Yep.
some of these
That's
things
what I-
may
yep.
be deprioritized as other things pop up, so.
Yep.
Except Mr. Barney doesn't have a question.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yep.
High school, replacement of several malfunctioning house lights in the PAC.
Yes.
I assume they're LED lights, because they're not that old, since the PAC was just built.
Yes. Yep.
Is it environmental or something? Are they overheating and that's why they're starting to fail? I mean,
So
what's?
there's been a back and forth, by the sounds of it, for a few years, but they really, several started going out at once within the last year. The core is that it's overheating and the drivers are frying, but then it had turned into a potential install issue. They were installed directly through the back versus the option of a hanging light. Now, the only problem here, and this is the very long short, but those lights, many of these fixtures come with multiple ways of mounting and wiring. These came with plugs, hang plugs, and but yet these were installed hardwired. So there's questions from the manufacturer warranty-wise that we're still in as of now, but we just confirmed that all of the ones that we sent are being repaired or replaced free of charge.
That's good.
But we are looking further into the remaining. I think there's 30-ish of them. We have 9 to 10 that we had sent and replaced. So before those go, the idea is that we either tier out or that they send us new, just so we can kind of be ahead of the ball game moving forward. And,
Yeah, I imagine they were all purchased in the same lot.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
maybe the
Absolutely.
vendor will be good enough to
Definitely.
maybe replace a couple before they fail.
Yep, absolutely. Really, the only bigger hangup is just company ownership changes and things of that, tracking back and making sure that they're gonna, you know, hold their warranties as they should, so.
Thank you.
So-
Appreciate the update.
Yeah,
The lights will be replaced, but we had to pay to remove them, and we'll have to
Sure,
pay.
some
So you'll
labor
see that
involved.
in the vouchers moving
Got
forward,
it.
and we'll have to pay to put them back up.
yep.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'd just like to compliment the picture taking. You took Mr. Lowe's suggestion, well-centered and nice and large.
Yep.
With
I don't know if Ms.
captions
Killian helped
also.
with that,
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
And no printer ink was wasted printing these, I'm
That's
sure.
exactly.
I was wondering about the field house lighting. You skipped over that one. And it's kind of like the PAC, I think. You know, we feel like it was just built and we shouldn't be, it's not in this section, it was in the last section.
Oh, yeah, yes. So this ended up, we had eight or nine banks out in a very wide variety. And the idea was that the way that they were sequenced with the drivers, which that is all up to the man who connected them at the time, that's why they were displaced so differently. One driver was bad that we replaced free of charge. And we cut back on this one big time because in all actuality, I think there was 3 or 4 that were just unplugged. Plugged in, but they were just barely, they're the twist and lock 120 plugs. And they must have just threw maybe balls and rattling enough. So once we got the lift and we got up there and looked at them, we were able to connect them. And I think the majority, except for the one bank with a bad driver, was the only issue. I was actually
Okay.
happy about that. Yep.
So not too bad.
No, not bad at all. But a lot lighter.
Other questions? Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 6A, the 5-year capital improvement plan update.
Yes, so this is much of it is the exact same layout as previously presented. This is just this year's updated as we're ongoing here to share with the Buildings Committee. I do have some of the most recent updates that have been done to it are the replacement of the commercial water softener, which was a prompted project, so to say. That was in August when I believe it was August if I recall correctly, I'm sorry. But the commercial water softener went out. The replacement of the DX condensing unit number 2 at district office, that was moved up because we lost one of the condensers within the unit. So it's a leg along as of right now. We did a repair a couple years ago. That was a temporary repair. It wasn't a result of this necessarily failing. It was just, I mean, it's at its life. Initially, the plan for the use of it and what kind of load it's under, that we would be able to have it for another 2 or 3 years, but it rose its hand and said earlier is better. So that was moved up, and the tennis court repair and revamp was moved up as well, just due to some cracking issues, getting larger, and creating more of a safety issue. I did mark anything in red as something that has been completed, and this will kind of be an ongoing, just per school, and then at the end of the year, or I shouldn't say that, the year grouped projects as well. Boiler replacement was one of them at Amy Bell. Otherwise, I believe all of those projects stayed the same. County line, we had the boiler replacement taken care of. Anything else for this year? Oh yes, the playground asphalt mill and overlay, that's something with the drainage included, that's something that I attempted to get on the docket earlier, or I should say in fall, but was taken over with other things, so that's something that this summer would be the ideal time to take care of that. Otherwise, I believe those were all ongoing from the last 5-year. The high school, the floor tile replacement, the B-wing, that's what I was just talking about with the GSF, second floor GSF scrubber flood. The roof replacement that we took care of in fall. And again, the tennis court, that was brought up, I think I had it at 26, 27, or 27, 28. But that was brought up to this year. I did get one proposal on that one, and I will be reaching out to get some more options of different ways of repair, to see what would be the best option for the entire layout. And I'll be working with Sarah and everyone else to kind of prompt that. The idea would be said and done before tennis starts in spring. There are a lot of ducks that need to line up for it to happen in its entirety, but I think there's a way that we can definitely work with them and around them in order to get it taken care of in a timely, orderly fashion. Let's see. There was only different one there on the high school. Kennedy, the wayfinding signage, that was a pre-done install exterior. That was, we had talked about those. The commercial water softener replacement, that one we had taken care of. That's for the entire building. But it plays a huge part in the foods and nutrition area. Obviously, they use a lot of water and need clean machines for that to work. But at some point, it will help our boilers out as well. Left that. Walkway, otherwise I believe all of these stayed the same. The varsity softball field revamp, that is one that is coming up this year. At least as of shortly here. Sorry, I'm trying to. Okay. MacArthur, I don't have anything other than the backlot mill and repave, which I'm hoping to do alongside County Line. I will be getting final pricing for all of those, or proposals, I should say. Seal stripe front parking lot. That's another, that is on the asphalt schedule, which basically just brings them up when they're recommended, but it is in time as the lines start to disappear. Additional balance, these all, I believe these all stayed the same as well. So I mean, it really is district admin, that one moved up with DX Unit 2. That's just the cooling unit, the DX, that's a version of the cooling for a condensing unit. Otherwise, everything pretty much stayed the same. Again, just an annual bringing forward as it's changed, and this will be put, if approved, will be put on the district website.
Just one thing, because I like the breakdown by buildings, but when I see 23, 24, I always think to myself, are we gonna get it done during 23, 24? So one suggestion I would throw out there for consideration is on the yearly capital projects list. There's already a little bit of space based off of the layout here. Could we add a column for, I'm gonna just call it notes, but you know, whatever it might be, so that, for instance, if there's repaving, if there's roofing work, if there's something that obviously you need, it's a big project, there has to be scheduling, or you have RFPs out there, or scheduled, or some, you know, just even something like that. That way, as I'm looking through each building, I'm paying closer attention to the priorities.
Sure.
And the reason for the updates.
Yep.
But then, like I said, when I see 23, 24, my first thought is exactly where. And I think it'll
Sure.
help for your report too, because
Definitely.
it'll just be, well, you know,
So
we
almost
have an
a
RFP out
status
there.
column of some-
Status, yeah, notes. I mean, I don't really care what it's called, but
No,
that
I
way.
think that's good. You know, I do utilize something of that nature for myself, and we kind of seen it during that walkthrough list that we had completed, but just for the purpose of it being somewhat of the final and needs to be posted, I wasn't sure if that was something that we would post, so I didn't add it in here, but.
Yeah, and that way too, we have an idea, because if I remember correctly, I think it was the roof replacement at GHS, it slipped a little bit in timing. I don't think we technically had it, I think it was late summer or midsummer or something.
Yep.
So I mean, it was just a slight miss, but that way too, if we know, I mean, technically it's not 23, 24, but it'll be late summer.
Sure.
That way we have that visibility into it.
Definitely. Yeah, I can do that without a doubt.
Yeah,
Yep.
on that roof, you said fall before, so was it actually done in late summer, or was it done during school?
That was done in early August.
Yeah.
Okay,
It was
so.
before school started,
Yep.
because.
So it was summer.
Yep, summer, yeah, it's hard.
Yeah,
Summer, late-
I was
I'd say
just
early fall.
curious, I
That's-
was not aware of roofing going on in late fall, or in the
Nope.
fall, I should say.
No, yeah, it was all buttoned up. That one went
Yeah,
pretty.
it was
hard
done
to have
before
school.
school started.
The what?
It would have been hard to have school.
Well, it's not impossible, but it's
Isn't
kinda
that
noisy.
ideal? Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions from anybody?
No,
This is a 5-year outlook. We're in 24. Are you gonna be adding to this, or are you gonna start a new for each year? I
So,
don't see any 29s on here yet.
yep, so that will be this following year. I will add that one on and remove the 23, 24, but still have it for reference, you know, for what projects were completed.
So
accept.
this is gonna be a living document, you're just gonna keep adding to this one?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Any other questions? If no other questions, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve are we doing just the 5-year or the whole,
The 5-year.
the
It's-
5-year?
Yeah, there's
This
a
is-
recommendation written.
Yeah, this is the 5-year, cause it's for the 23-24 school year, I know it's 24 currently, calendar year. So it actually started in July
Okay.
1st. So it should go through June 30th of 28, am I correct? June 30th of 28.
Scrolling to it.
Page 23.
I'm on 24. Motion to move forward with a positive recommendation to the full board for approval of the 5-year capital improvement plan.
Second?
Motion by Brown, second by Loth. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is, as I scroll, 7A, JV baseball and softball field revamp.
Yes. All right, so, working with the athletic department, athletic activities department, we had figured out that we need to prioritize, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We prioritized the need, to revamp the junior varsity baseball and softball fields, both junior varsity, fields, I should say, in order to maintain the athletic fields. We did take care of the varsity fields last year, which turned out great, and they're easier to maintain. This is a pretty common, it's a mending process to uphold all of the infield mix and issues that we might have within any of the dirt in the fields, just between washout, erosion, and just heavy use essentially. So this is one that we've had some pretty severe lips on between both of the JV fields that end up becoming a safety issue. You know, and no matter what our maintenance upkeep is at this point within house, it is a project to take care of these with the necessary equipment and tools. So this was something that will last several years again and will be easier to maintain thus moving forward. Not saying that they were not well maintained moving to this point, but we are certainly going to make a point to maintain them to our utmost moving forward after this. So I just, or we both figured, both departments figured this was a great priority for the athletic fields, especially because we're gonna be doing some fence work and some other things to kind of have the big bang coming out in spring and summer. We reached out to Midwest Athletic Fields, which is who we received the lowest number from on the varsity fields. They are a very good company with this. We have a great working relationship with them. And they can have us on their schedule for first thing in spring, so.
Any expectation is that the work would be completed prior to any seasons?
Yep.
Oh, I think,
March 18th.
March 18th.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, at this rate, maybe
Weather
next
permitting.
week.
Weather permitting.
We had a snow day a year ago.
That's I did attach the proposal just for reference. I know it probably seems like a lot for the short activity stage there, but really just being the mix and material is really what costs there.
Which school is this at?
Technically for the high school and Kennedy.
The
with
fields are
softball.
at both schools, or?
Yeah, the softball, JV softball is at Kennedy and the JV baseball is at the high school, so.
It, you know, it doesn't say it in here anywhere, which schools where the fields are at. And I know it's confusing. I can't keep it straight, which field is at which school.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I definitely could reference that. I know I had it, I think I had it in my 5-year, but not in this.
So the baseball field is at the high school and the softball field is at
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Yep.
Okay,
These are also used, high rental use as well.
Yeah.
okay.
And this does include, I think I'd mentioned the new bases, base anchors, pitching rubber, and home plate. We've got a couple that are floating, the bases, they get beat up pretty hard, so it's good for ongoing replacement to make sure that we don't have any buckled knees or ankles.
This will then come to finance because it's over the $15,000 mark.
So is the plan, after this work is done, that we will be doing most of the maintenance on the fields? Or does Midwest Athletic have a contract to?
We will be doing the maintenance.
Okay. if
We will be
do-
doing I think I should have referenced proper maintenance to the fields.
Okay.
In
This is
order-
almost like Mr.
Regular.
Brown, a reboot for both
Right.
fields. We went out personally this fall and looked at every outdoor field, and these are in grave need of
Oh, yeah.
a reboot, and then, to Mr. Lord's point, proper maintenance moving forward.
With proper maintenance, when would be the expected time that we have to do a full revamp again?
So I wanted to list that on here. It's hard to gauge, just
Depends on
between
weather
the
and
elements
use.
and the use and everything like that. I can just say from experience, I've went as long as 5-6 years without even getting close. We'd add on some in-house, we'd maybe get some materials, some clay mix and field mix, on a much smaller scale, usually around the batter's box or the on-deck circle, that type of thing. But outside of that, really just the ongoing proper maintenance, and you can prolong that a very long time.
Okay.
Massive downpours and things of that nature definitely play a
Sinkholes.
factor, but yeah, sinkholes.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you. I will look for one final motion.
Motion to adjourn?
I will second.
Motion by Loth, second by Brown. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Buildings and grounds completed at 5:03.